"Don't you dare," he choked out, voice cracking, as he yanked open the yellowed envelope she pressed into his hand moments before her final breath. The sterile hospital room blurred around him, machines beeped a sorrowful rhythm, nurses hovered in hushed panic. Outside, the world carried on, indifferent to the revelation unfolding behind closed doors. His trembling fingers unfurled the aged letter, and his heart slammed against his ribs with a shock more powerful than any wartime bombardment. "My darling married to a stranger," the first line read, 74 years of unspoken trust, teetering on a fragile precipice. His beloved wife, his lifelong partner, had harbored a secret so dark it threatened to erase every cherished memory they shared. Before we move further into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear. Let's dive in. He slammed the window in a futile attempt to banish the words etched on that fragile page. Hot guilt and humiliation flooded him. He'd thought his neighbor's whispers about his frail wife's shadowy past were cruel gossip. Now they cut to the bone with unexpected truth. The ache in his chest was equal parts betrayal and regret. He'd been blind to her pain, deaf to her silence. Now he realized he'd misjudged her tremors as aging frailty instead of the echoes of a crime no one had ever solved. He stumbled back to their wedding photo, framed in silver tarnished by time. Their smiles, bright and unguarded, spoke of a young love that weathered wars, loss, and the passage of generations. He remembered her laughter as she twirled in that swirling gown, her hair catching sunlight like a promise of forever. How could the woman who stood by him through every hardship also carry the weight of a hidden betrayal? His mind raced, accusing. Shame burned his cheeks. The world had painted her as a saint, a gentle grandmother. The letter's words painted her instead as a woman who'd vanished for days under suspicion of a crime he dared not name. A memory flashed. The night they'd returned from the front, she disappeared into the old oak grove behind the farmhouse, returning with tears staining her cheeks. He'd pressed her, demanding answers, but she'd only whispered, "Some ghosts never rest." He'd insisted she see a doctor. She'd refused, retreating behind curt nods and polite smiles. Now his heart twisted with guilt. She'd borne that burden alone, never trusting him with the secret that defined her fate. In his ignorance, he'd allowed her to suffer in silence, convinced her trembling was the ache of age rather than the weight of wrongful accusation. Determined to uncover the truth, he searched their modest home until beneath the bed he found a battered tin box she'd hidden decades earlier. Inside lay faded photographs of her at a dilapidated courthouse, yellowed news clippings of a 1949 manslaughter accusation, and a sealed affidavit that cleared her name. His breath caught when he realized the accusation stemmed from a childhood friend's death in a stolen car. They'd whispered she'd fled to dodge punishment, and she'd returned alone, never explaining why. His tears fell as he read her final words. She'd taken the blame to protect the true culprit, her brother, whose life would be destroyed by scandal. In an era when women had no voice and family ties outweighed justice, she'd chosen the harshest road. "I carry this shame so our family name remains unbroken," she wrote. "Tell our son I loved him more than my own freedom." He gasped, grief and pride twisting together. The darkest secret wasn't cruelty or betrayal. It was sacrifice so profound it had cost her peace of mind and stolen decades of candid smiles. He collapsed beside her hospital bed, the letter clenched against his heart. In the quiet hum of machines, he cradled her frail hand. You never betrayed me," he whispered, tears tracing waterways down his lined face. A soft click, and she opened her eyes, half-lidded. In that final, fragile moment, he saw not a criminal, but the warrior who'd fought alone for justice. She gave him a faint, proud smile before the monitors flatlined. He kissed her forehead, grief clashing with reverence as applause of distant memories filled his mind. The snap of salutes, her victories whispered in family lore. They carried her to the chapel with honors befitting a silent hero. As the congregation stood, a mix of family, old friends, and neighbors who once whispered judgment, they erupted into heartfelt applause, salutes echoing the respect long overdue. He addressed the crowd with her exoneration in hand, revealing the heroic sacrifice that defined her life. Faces brimmed with tears and shame as they realized how badly they'd misjudged her, In that charged hush, the world finally understood the measure of her courage. Even those who once doubted her integrity bowed their heads in respect, forever transformed by her truth. True love endures not only triumphs, but the quiet sacrifices we never see. Sometimes the darkest secrets are shaped by selfless courage, not deception. Applause to those unseen heroes whose battles remain hidden until the final moment. If this story warmed your heart, subscribe, tap that like button, and sprinkle a karma in the comments.